to the Laugh and Monkey Music Show. Teva and Daniel. Daniel, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you could be on. And actually, in all honesty, I'm not saying your name 100% right. You give me a little bit of leeway. The way you say it is way better. It's Italian. I don't want to butcher it. So just gonna put that out there. People that aren't aware of you, you are a fantastic guitar player.
Thank
Um, also, I was not aware of you that you and Gretchen were married previous to me speaking to Gretchen and starting to do my research. Like with musicians, sometimes I don't always connect the dots. Like I hear an artist here, here, and here, and here. And then as you start
Nice.
to see it, it makes so much more sense. I'm like, oh,
Ah,
oh, oh. So like when me and Gretchen spoke, and she's, oh, my husband, I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I went back to some albums I wasn't aware of. I was like, oh my God, I've heard this before. So I had heard
okay.
you in a different mindset,
Cool, cool,
you
cool,
know.
cool.
It's good because I appreciate it then. So it was fun. You are definitely an artist that plays from your heart.
Try.
It's very powerful, very powerful.
Thank
Um,
you.
I, Jazz, classical. What would you want to put in a box? The style for people? Fusion. I don't
Ah,
like the
good
label,
point.
but
I think this is has been a problem from for mine about
yeah,
what
where to
style
go?
of music I play. For of course we can say instrumental guitar, electric
Yes.
guitar music because there is no lyrics and mainly, not always, but mainly
Mm.
focus on the electric guitar. After that, I don't know. I'm not able to answer this question. But
It's
if you
okay.
want,
Just
I can tell you a little bit of my
I would love that. I just want to preface that with people that it's many genres. I can't do it myself. I hear jazz, fusion. If you like all those things,
fusion,
you're gonna like his music. But please, you break it
let's
down
say
better.
rock fusion. Rock
That's
fusion.
just want to direct people to what kind of music with their, you know, if they like a certain type of music, they're definitely gonna dig you, you know.
Okay. Rock fusion with element of crossover. Crossover in the, I mean, using other type of instrumentation that is not part of the traditional rock ensemble or even fusion
Mhm.
ensemble, like a classical instruments. I know you were talking with Gretchen recently
Yep.
about also this type of musical approach that we are trying
Hmm.
to do.
Well, I love the mixture of it though. And that's the power of it. I like that in some level it's an idea and then it becomes musical.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Your influences is something totally different that doesn't sound like what you're doing.
often, yes.
That to me is exciting to hear from an artist, you know. Um,
I agree, I agree.
your journey though of I think I want to let's start with you with your composition of songwriting. You pull from a lot of different areas. Other besides guitar and you play piano, like what other instruments do you play that you use to, when you're doing your songwriting? I think that's probably the best part to start.
Okay, in the recent years, I'm
Hmm.
working decently on piano. Let's say that I play piano very, very entry level, okay? Because I always focus. Yeah, my cat I want to enter the room. It's scratching now. Um, my piano playing is really bad because I started late. I always focus on the guitar, but
Right.
in the recent years, I realized that that can be a powerful instrument to expand the possibilities. And especially in writing music that is based on guitar, it's very easy to arrange everything from a guitar perspective,
Hmm.
and then the arrangement can suffer. There is a tendency to work in specific area of the. Anyway, yeah, I play piano mostly. I compose mostly on the piano recently because also it allows me to find ideas that are not very playable on the guitar. For instance,
Hmm.
If I want to play a chord that has 6 or 7 different notes, of course I'm
Right.
not able to play on the guitar. And on the guitar, I won't need to play all that many notes. I
Hmm.
can select which one to play, but the piano offers me option that I wasn't able to do with the guitar. But beside play a little bit of piano very slowly to compose, I focus exclusively on electric guitar. Even if I
Do
have
you
an acoustic guitar here, but I always focus on the electric guitar as an instrument.
is well, thank you for that. So I guess what I'm thinking is I notice that when some people play their primary instrument, it always reflects upon other instruments they play. An easy example that the public might know generically is like a Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters plays guitar now, but he's primarily knows originally from a drummer. It feels
Yeah.
like he plays drumming riffs. Charlie Benante from Anthrax, drummer, writes most of the songs in Anthrax, very powerful chords that remind you of drumming.
Mm.
Bring that to our conversation. Do you think writing on either guitar to piano or piano to guitar kind of reflects upon that playing style for you?
Definitely yes. Definitely yes. In my case, the influences that informed my guitar playing, especially in the last 10 years, maybe a little bit more, is not only play a little bit of piano, but especially studying other type of the music of other instruments. They're not playing necessarily, but study
Hmm.
music, for instance, for a woodwind trio where I
Yeah.
can learn interesting stuff about the articulation of the phrase that then I can try to use in my own approach on the electric guitar. Then listening a lot, in my case, of other instruments
Hmm.
was
I, I
very important.
I ask you. No, oh, well, thank you. I think to me, and that makes more sense because to me, when I say you play from the heart, I mean a lot of people play from the heart, but it feels very much like sometimes the same feelings you get like when you like a piano, the gut-wrenching piano music. I feel like you're carrying over that same emotion into
Hmm.
some of your notes in the music. I don't know if that makes sense to you as a player, but it feels to me like it translates over a little bit more. Or maybe you're just hitting those notes and that's just how it is. You know?
There is always a combination. In my early years, when I did my first album, that
Hmm.
is still the album that most people love because it's more traditional in the direction of a guitar album.
Yep.
That I was probably more very spontaneous. Then little by little, I really like the intellectual aspect of music,
Yep.
the purely scientific aspect, and I have a lot of fun studying music, maybe more than playing it. I need to say. And then what happens that through the years, a lot of the intellectual aspect of
Hmm.
music started to be much more noticeable in my composition. But in the end of
Yeah.
the day, it always need to be a balance between what you said, between playing from the art, from your imagination, from your intuition, right?
Yep.
From what you want to express, etc., etc., and also the intellectual aspect to me is important to in order to create a produce, how I can say, in order to create
Yeah.
a work that it try to be solid technically. I'm not talking only on the guitar, but I'm talking also
No.
the arrangement. How everything falls in place. Does it make sense? My English is under
No, it makes
construction,
sense. No,
man.
actually, your English is probably better than mine, and I've been here my whole life. So let me just tell you that right now, right? So
No, no,
I
no.
think you're fine.
Okay.
I get it. I give you major props because I get your point, and it's excellent. So don't you worry about that. And because I'm so all over the place with my questions, I mean, you're handling it fine. I
Like,
think what happened is when I heard I did hear your first album, and I look at the pictures. I see when you first did it, you look like you're like 8 years old. You look so young when you did that album, like it's the most baby face. Um, when I listen to that
Oh,
album, and I go back and listen to it, right? It is different to me now because I had heard it. That's the album I'd heard, but I hadn't heard in a while because I was going through a span where you listen to a lot of guitar, instrumental stuff when
yeah.
I'm doing certain things. You know, like some music you listen to when you're doing work in the yard, some music you listen to when you're driving. It depends what it is. Your newer music, I can't listen to if I'm doing a lot of thinking at work because I get pulled into music. I can't just listen to music and not become part of it unless it's really background music, right? So to me, I went back, reheard that album compared to the new stuff with the newer albums you've been doing. So I got you actually a website. It's a great website actually. I actually want to refer to the newer Inkblot and then the Nuts album. But I mean, the complexity was already sort of there early on. But I think your composition, I almost think you found yourself more in your second album. Like you, it just your comfort level of just exploring things exploded very quickly as an artist. You know, I mean, you're good in the first album, but there's something about those early years where very quickly it just changed.
Yeah.
You know, that's
What
what
do
I
you,
hear.
why? Tell me why from your point of view. And then I tell you my
Okay.
impression.
Well, I mean, I'd attribute A because I think you're the kind of person that drinks up what's around you intellectually and experiences and working with more artists. And the more you play with other artists, you can work off of them. I also think maybe your comfort level changed. And
Hmm.
I also wouldn't doubt it if you delved into some more instrumentation and some more other learning to bring that in, other styles, you know, some kind of other stronger influence that gave you that level. Because it wasn't like you weren't not comfortable, but there's just something at the next level where you just kind of went to another world where it's like
A
to
little
the part
bit,
where I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
describe you. I can't describe what you do now. That's what happened. You were an instrumental guitar player that was really good, and then I just can't describe you anymore. That's the changeover.
Yeah, yeah. Let's say that from early on, I always been
Yeah.
interested in composition.
Hmm.
Now, my first album reflects all the work I was doing to get proficient on the guitar.
Hmm.
There was like, I like what you said because the things was already there. I'm noticing around these days while I'm practicing a lot of my of several songs from my first album because I have
Yeah.
a couple of shows in Italy actually in the middle of September, and it's a long set, and I'm practicing a lot because there is a lot of notes if you noticed,
Oh
and
my God,
it's
I can't
funny
imagine
to
what you remember.
play. I'm playing pieces from my first album, the cycle, the third, the side project, the nuts, music that I still need to release. I also am
Yep.
practicing because we will play, and then
Wow.
sometimes it's fun, it's interesting to play the old stuff and say, "Oh wow!" But see what happens. Yes, definitely, my interest in composition became more and
Hmm.
more intense. Also because okay, my first album is more traditional in the guitar in the instrument.
Sort of, but it's so good though. It makes me want to throw my guitar out in the road when I hear just that. I mean, it's not like it's a simple album either. It's a good album unto its own. It's just I'm just saying the songwriting is maybe different, but like the technique and the songs are good and strong. I just noticed it's
Thank
like
you.
just different. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, I remember working a lot for that album. Of course, the production was the best production in terms of sound because it was my first album, you know. I needed to learn a lot about working in the
It holds
studio.
up.
I remember being in the studio with a sound engineer, and we are both Italian. We scream at each other. No, this tone of the
Yeah.
guitar is too, it's too dark. We cannot track like that. No, no, I like this. And then mixing took a long time. Then after the first album, I realized I need to learn how to arrange better
Hmm.
in order to have a mix that sounds stronger. And then I went more into composition and my I started to take more radical, can I say that?
Yep. Yeah.
Directions because in order to push also this type of instrumental guitar music forward in my own from my own perspective, of course, my how I can say. But then yes, the result is ended being a little bit more obscure, at least for the guitar community, you know. But me and
Um,
Gretsch and
yes.
another few guitar player likes to do the stuff, but
Well,
sorry.
I think no, no, no. Don't you ever apologize. You're like, what you're saying is I get it, and it's very clear. I think, and it's weird because I think the music world and instrumental world is so. Each time you go into music, it gets nichey and nichey and smaller and smaller. Go to the guitar world, it's very intense, but it gets even that gets kind of chopped up into little things. You know what I mean? Your peers get it right away because it's almost like your first album is like a good rock album, and then after that, each thing is almost like a classical music would have like it's a whole piece. There's solid pieces. Now I'm not having the words in English for you, but there's solid pieces like a full piece of art. Like each one, where the first one was more of just a great rock record, and from then on in, these were like solid, digestible, kind of all at once. Really, you should hear the whole thing. You're not doing tracks anymore. The way it goes,
Kind of.
you know.
Yeah, yeah, because listening to a lot of classical music, the structure of the song
Right.
started to be influenced from classical music, but not too much because my idea, in the end of the day,
Hmm.
is still try to be decently
Well, not that.
accessible.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that they are classical albums, but like in a classical music, they're pieces. They're full pieces. That's what it is. They're full compositions where they all feel like it weaves together. One song does not go. They're not totally different, but they're not the same.
Yeah, yeah,
It's it.
like
Yeah, it's
movements
more of
of
thank you. See, now you
sonata.
got me. Now you're teaching me English. See, this is working
No,
out. We
no,
got this thing going on here.
no.
So that's what I mean. I meant that. Yeah, it's more of a solid, bigger pieces of the big picture type of thing. The whole album is more of a big picture thing instead of
Yes,
songs.
more.
That's what I meant.
I don't want to say that. I think in terms of how is this called a concept album. I'm
Right.
saying that I think in terms of concept album, but for sure my second and third solo album, especially the last one, Inkblot, is more every song the sound word. I
Hmm.
wanted to have very well unified sound,
Yep.
and then between song the first album is also common to have more variety of style because
Right.
usually it's a collection of songs that the composer or the guitar player in this case collects throughout the years, right? And then okay, I do my
Right.
first, now I have enough song, I do my first album, and often happens that there is a lot of variety, and I like that idea also, you know.
Yeah.
But
It's. I'm sorry. Did you have a lot? I'm sorry to step on you, but you could add that to his answer. Did you have a lot of songs left over after your first album that you kind of recrafted a little bit as you were writing songs, being like, I've been in the studio, I kind of want to do the song. I'll keep this idea, but I might change it a little bit more moving forward because I know how the recording process differently.
no, usually I'm pretty selective as I'm composing. I start the main musical idea. I start often from a very small musical seed, we can call,
Yep.
that inspires me because I can see, okay, here there is some potential.
Hmm.
I always think that, especially in composition, all the notes are dead on the piano, the guitar. Find a
Yeah.
way to put them together in order to make them feel alive in the sense that they need to have a meaning. Maybe here is where the heart needs
Yeah.
to enter in order to give life to these notes. And then I'm trying to notice when, as I'm finding ideas, looking for ideas, there is these elements that inspires me, that excites me, or the what I play are still dead. You
Yeah.
know, I do know what I mean. And then when I found that, okay, I can work on the song. But to answer your question, I usually, when I go in the studio, I'm sure, okay, it is, I'm sure about what I'm going to record because the idea already went through a process of selection.
Okay.
I often start a piece if I see that the idea is not alive enough. I'm not going
Hmm.
to complete the song. I
Oh,
just
really? Okay, you
ended
just.
there.
Yeah.
It was still useful, maybe informative for developing some techniques, some sonorities. What happens that often, okay, now this piece doesn't work. I won't spend a lot of time
Hmm.
working on it. But it's possible that maybe after 6 months, after a year, I will use the same type of musical material, same type of ideas, but I was maybe at that point I have a better vision that make the
Okay.
ideas more interesting, and then I can finish. I can use it to a complete piece. Does it make sense a little bit what I'm saying or not?
It- no, it totally makes sense.
I
I mean,
don't know.
no, no, if like to me, being a musician, you're creating soundscapes, which is
Mm,
a sonic visual version, sort of. If you're crafting something as an artist or a craftsman, you build something. If you don't use the whole thing, why would you throw out something else you built that you could probably use? No, in no other field are people throwing out stuff that they created that's good. It just doesn't work with that piece. They save it because they go, you know what? I got a lot of other stuff. I can use this.
yeah,
So the fact that you're if you don't feel it fits the moment, yeah, I get you'd save it, and there might be just part of that later on of that idea that you might just take out of that again and put in another song to add that
yeah,
missing piece that you're missing. You wrote it. Why would you get? You know what I'm saying? I agree. Don't get rid of it. Do you find it hard though? Because I actually think it might be easier because you've kind of like I said very early on, you have your own sound. The way you play the neck to end a neck. Not many people play the sound at the same tone and style at the same time that you play. Do you feel you have a lot more freedom with that sound now? Because you can do whatever you want. It's your sound. Like you're not in a box if you write a song for your fans. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you have to do another album the same? Or you're like, I can do whatever I want. Or you're in the
good
middle.
point. I think I did enough of whatever I want, in the sense that maybe in especially the last album is the most
Hmm.
orchestra I did. Then I composed also a concertino last year for in three movements that I
Yeah.
still need to record and release. That we I performed with the Utah Symphony
Wow.
with Gretchen. That she performed the
Oh,
comp-
she spoke about that. She had a great piece that hadn't come out yet that I sounded awesome.
yeah, but after a while of composing more and more in the direction of classical, still
Yeah.
crossover. I also want to go back to my roots
Hmm.
of more oriented guitar music. Then the next release I'm going to do, the beginning of the next year, are more that are more like a crossover with jazz and rock actually.
Yeah.
But sometimes, yeah, I'm thinking to also do more in the direction of
Right.
more traditional instrumental guitar stuff also. But I need to see. I don't know if I'm answering
Well,
your question. I'm going everywhere
no, no, no,
now.
no, you did actually. You did because I
But
said I don't have to.
if I want you ask me, do you think you can do whatever you want? I don't know. I
Well, I
for
mean,
sure I
as an
like.
artist, you feel like you don't feel pressure. Like, oh, this next album, I have an expectation. My fans expect this. Or do you feel like you've created a fan base that
Good
knows,
point.
kind of like when Led Zeppelin came out and did like a heavy album and then he did an
Mm.
acoustic album? The fans are like, well, I guess they can do whatever they want. Like, do you think because of your first instrumental album and then the next albums also were a lot different? Do you feel like you've kind of like, well, I've kind of done a lot of different stuff. They know that I'm kind of going to go where I want.
Of course, the very how you can call it, the very solid fan
Yep.
probably of mine are probably the more open-minded, and then they are very interested in more
Hmm.
exploration than more also experimental stuff with the guitar. But as we were talking earlier, the guitar community is more interested in specific type of style that are more
Right.
clear. For instance, it can be shred guitar, it can be jazz guitar, purist, can be
Hmm.
fusion. I like to enter in and out of these styles, but I don't like to be a purist.
I,
Then I'm
I think
just
it,
saying that this can be a limitation in terms of expanding the audience. In my
right.
case, then I'm always in conflict. Must
I
I
hear
do
you.
what I want completely, or now I did? My last album was what I wanted to do, probably from a long time, to bring the guitar really in an environment where there is a lot of counterpoint, where there is a texture that are not very common in electric guitar music. That was my goal from a long time, and I did that. Then maybe now I can also go back. I don't know. I need to see. I'm not sure. Of course, I want to release the concertino. It's called concertino.
Right.
There's a small concerto. Concerto is
Yeah.
usually a 30, 25, 30 minutes piece.
Yeah.
Concertino is a term much less common because, but it is mean a small concerto that is 13 minutes. That I work a
Hmm.
lot of that. I am definitely I want to record and release because probably it's the best work I did so far in terms of composition and placement,
Yep.
and also of the placement of the electric guitar with this instrumentation, because this is one of the main research work, let's say in music. Try
Hmm.
to blend this electric guitar
Yeah.
with instruments that are from another universe, but in a way that from a
It works.
sonic perspective needs to blend.
Right.
There was a the godfather of this style is Stephen Mackey, the composer that Gretchen played
Yeah.
with the Utah Symphony. Stephen Mackey, he was one
Yeah.
of the first doing that, starting in the 80s. But there is not that many that try. We have a Malmsteen that play with the orchestra, or
Yeah.
but it's always the orchestra is always used like a pad, and the
Hmm.
guitar doesn't blend, is on top of that,
Right.
is not blending with the instrumentation. This is what I try to work to do in the last 15 years. But also I'm ready also to go back to play straight.
It's a rock.
Yeah, because
Ish.
why
Ish.
not? I don't want to limit myself. I'm
Well,
doing
I
this
think
and
it's
now I'm
great. I
only
think
this.
every album, I think everything you do should be totally different from the last thing. So nobody can get a hold of what you're doing. But
Yeah,
I get the audience. I mean, I can say on this podcast of mine, God forbid I do something different. I talk to somebody from a different style of music. I talk to a heavy band like Cannibal Corpse, and then the next week I talk to Air Supply, and people just they're up in arms. I'm like, they're both musicians. Listen,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
I get that they'll come at you. You'll lose fans. I've lost fans just because I've tried to mix it up. I'm like, well, I guess
Yeah,
that's how
yeah,
it's going to be.
exactly.
I
The
guess
risky is that one.
you
Yes,
have more of a finite audience that's more open-minded, I guess. I guess that's the playoff, or
for sure.
you're you're just kind of peddling to the masses. And I think if you're doing that, I think that's where a lot of musicians fail, especially when they release albums like that, because they're trying to please something that didn't come out. You have your big album, you do the second album, sounds similar. Maybe you might have some runoff on it, but it's not the same anymore because you're trying to chase yourself.
Yeah, I never wanted to do that. This is a risk that most bands and musicians do.
Yes.
And also, there is nothing wrong with that, because if you find your comfort zone, and a clear example is BB King, a guitar player that I love a lot. But
Hmm.
he played the same things for his entire career. He also said that you need
Yep.
to be very specific if you want to have a career. I remember an interview where he was
Right.
saying that, and it made complete sense. But I wasn't never able to do that because I get very tired very quickly. To me, music is more a function of a spiritual growth
Hmm.
than the function is to it can have that function to
Right.
discover like yourself, if you want,
But
by pushing the musical language every time forward, and see what happens to in order to understand yourself better.
I think that that's what happens is being that person is good. It's just it changes the world of being an artist that gets such strong commercial viability that's ridiculous, but it also puts you in a more of a safe spot of top
Mm,
radio. I mean,
totally.
if you look at, Steve Vai is one of my favorite guitar players, and he has a nice little quote on your page. Um, I met him when I was in college and had lunch with him from working for a record label as an
Cool.
intern, and he came in and it was a really crazy time. He came in and they're promoting Passion and Warfare, and there was a bunch of executives there, and instead of sitting with them, he came and he sat with us on the floor and hung out with the interns because he was so laid back. But that was probably, but to that point, that album was probably his most commercially
Yeah,
sounding album because it was more of a rock album. Had a couple good rock albums. I mean, I love his music, don't get me wrong, but I think if a lot of his music since then is great, but it didn't get the same market because unless he's playing with an artist, he does a lot of left turns. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of Dweezil Zappa, Frank Zappa, left turns, left turns. I like that because they're writing songs to the songs. You're serving the song. You're
mm.
not serving um, a faceless commercial sales number. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
For the
yeah, yeah,
Christmas
yeah.
quarter or something. I think an artist like you and actually and your wife does the same thing. You're definitely working to create and
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to find the
yeah.
economic balance. You know,
Of course, there need to be that balance,
of
right?
course, right,
If you
right.
are,
But I'm saying I think you honor it more by keeping more of who you are, as I'm saying. I think you guys do a good job of keeping it more that style than branching out because, you know, I
yeah,
can't compare you. I think I don't think like Steve Vai, he's all over the place. Same thing with your albums. It's you're definitely got your own style now. I mean, what you do in those
thank you,
last couple
thank you.
albums, it's definitely. No, you're welcome. It's definitely. I'm like I can't, and that I love that when
Mm.
it's kind of it's like that because I'm like I can't even. That's why I asked you, like, what do you call it? I don't like to label it, but I'm also like I don't even know what to compare it to people. I'm like, you like guitar? You like it? Like I don't know, you
Can be a
know?
problem also when I play some gigs, some shows that they
Yep.
think I'm going to play jazz. No, I'm going to play rock today.
Right.
Not that
Oh
I can
yeah,
play
true.
jazz easily. I mean, I'm working also in that environment, especially fusion, you know.
Hmm.
Eh, but yes, to me, the variety in the end of the day is very important to keep me interested in music. Otherwise, maybe I do something else.
Yep.
I'm not able to do only one type of music for forever. I get bored immediately. Not
I
immediately.
like
I like to do this, but
right.
I don't know. I like the idea of discover music
Hmm.
to understand
You
the languages, the language of music, and that pushed me in different direction musically.
mhm.
Th- because of this curiosity. I don't know.
Is your instruments, your sound, one of the crazy things, of a musician is always the tone chasing, and then you go the, tube or amp and all kinds of pedals is, this is authentic, this isn't because the guitar community gets a little crazy on what's the right purest way to do. With you, are you locked into you like I have my couple guitar sounds I like, I have a couple pedals. Like how are you and then you keep that in your mind when you're writing a song, or you kind of open to like, I'll grab a guitar I've never played before because I want that sound to be the color on my palette. Like, where are you with that, with your
Good,
instruments and playing?
cool question. Cool question. Yeah, a lot in the guitar world. Everybody is obsessed about the gear and tone, right?
Yes.
And it's definitely important. In my case, I'm more interested about the notes, how to
Hmm.
put them together, how to. Yeah, I'm interested in how to put the notes together, how they function together. That is the most important things. And then, of course, the tone is very important. And
Yeah.
I'm definitely more traditional in this point of view, in the sense that I like tubes amps. As you can see, 1 liter here
Yep.
is tube, this one is tube, another one here. Then and for my solo music, I try to use the guitar. If it was an oboe, a flute,
Hmm.
every sounds need to come out from the minimum of gear.
Okay.
It says that I use often very few effects, but I'm saying few pedals, few things,
Yep.
but I'm trying to have the good one that sound good.
Hmm.
I'm picking the selection of the few things I'm using because but I'm definitely not a guitar player that changes all the time.
I think your sound is how you play the neck to me. It's the
Yeah,
sound you
yeah,
have with because that's not the way you
volume
play the neck with
pot.
two hands. A lot of people do not play it like that. That is, that is you that has that sound. Um, but I see that obviously you're looking for the right tone and you try keeping it to be the minimalist that you can, but you're not afraid of using a few effects and pedals to
No, no, I'm
create that.
afraid. Especially when I'm in the studio, I
Mhm.
much I tend to try to be very open, especially to try different guitars, because when I'm in a recording session, the priority there is to get the best tone for the piece you can get,
Mhm.
right, the most effective. And often it's not the guitar you think. Sometimes also with Gretchen, we have a lot of guitar at home,
Yeah.
too many. We don't know where to place, put them. You can see here we have a little bit, but
Yeah.
all the house is full of guitar, hidden
Guitars.
also. And sometimes when we track, we tend to go to our favorite instrument.
Yeah.
Mine is this guitar, is my Charvel, Charvel.
Yep.
But sometimes we realize, ah, man, no, but this track, it can be a solo, a guest solo, it can be a piece of art, it can be different type of
Mhm.
project. And sometimes, no, let's try this other guitar, let's try this Gibson SG that we never used, but for the track is perfect because maybe we need some stronger riffs. Then in
Yep.
the studio, definitely it's very important to be as much open as possible. For live show, I go always with the instrument that I know better,
Yep.
and I rely in few.
Well,
I definitely like I said, tubes amps. I'm not a
right.
fan of modeler. I of virtual instruments.
Mhm.
Sorry, of
Hmm.
modeler. Yeah, I use at home
Yep.
often if I cannot to keep the volume down.
Yep.
Practicing a lot with that, yes, but I am old school from this point of view. Music that
Is
I
it
play.
hard? Is it
Sorry,
harder to keep it like that? Because as times are changing, technology's pushing forward. Tube amps, I'm saying? Because it's not the demand is different now. Because some people are like switching over. Less people, technology keeps pushing forward. Less the old stuff is being built. You know what I'm saying? Is it still?
yeah, yeah, no, no. I like that a lot of companies, for instance, to rock, because it is
Mhm.
hard to rock. They're doing
Yep.
that is the amp that I'm using from from many years now. Also, other company are doing smaller, for instance, heads.
Okay.
There is a and there is a lot of very good tube amps that are small that you can also bring on the plane, you know. And then I think also the companies that build tubes amps are
Yep.
trying to find their own
Keep
place
up.
in
Yeah.
this new world of. But I like, of course, I like the effects of plugins, you know,
Yes.
and I often blend them. I often record, especially especially when I'm doing a home recording. I
Hmm.
record the real head. I go directly on the on the interface. I'm not using the cabinet. Then I'm saying I'm doing a hybrid situation
Okay. Yeah.
where I have the real amp, but I have speaker simulations and all the effects are from my DAW, and then in this way I get the dynamic range of the two amps.
Hmm.
That of course these virtual amps are getting better and better every year, so we know that, and I'm checking
Yeah.
them.
I
Still, when
love the changing of them. I agree with you. I have a Vox that I love that has a lot of presets in it. Just for someone like me, you know, it's affordable.
yeah,
So
let's say that when for some type of playing, if you play metal, these plugins are great
yeah.
because you don't need a lot of dynamic. If you didn't play giant and modern metal, it's better to
Hmm.
play in that way because it sounds better. If you need to have a little bit of dynamic or a lot of dynamic,
Hmm.
we are not there yet, but it's possible that in few years we will be there. But I don't know. Then, especially when I play the song from a recent albums, especially
Yeah.
Inkblot, where there is a constantly moving the volume part, sometimes going at the minimum volume, still with high gain,
Okay.
but with the volume part at one. Because
Oh.
yeah, I play like that a lot. Because sometimes you think you are listening to an almost clean tone, but it's not a clean tone. It's a heavily distorted tone, very low, in the sense that in this way I can get almost a woodwind quality of a sound in the times that the note is clean, but I have the sustain
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I need in order to play some specific lines. Doing that with a modeler, I still find problematic. It doesn't sound correct. And I tried a
Mhm.
lot. Then I need a tube amp with a great amount of dynamic range in order to do that. But if I'm playing a metal solo, also is that I can go with virtual
Right.
instruments because it sounds well in focus. I need that a lot of compression.
The sound. Are you now, like you say you got your solo, you have a lot of solo stuff, but when you're also playing with other players, is it more, do you have a group of people you play with that you can pull in together to do if you want to do a band thing, or like when you're going to play in Italy, do you have a bunch of players, loose budget group that you can pull together? You know what I'm saying? Or is it like
Yes,
each time you got to put together a group or solo or a group? You know what I'm saying? Like what's that?
depends the type of gig. Often are a trio or quartet situation,
Hmm.
and then yes, in the United States, here in the Bay Area, I have me and Grazia. We usually share the same drummer. Thomas Perry is a
Yeah.
great drummer, very versatile. And then we have different um, with the for bass player. It depends, but
Yeah.
yeah, in terms of drummer, I am more consistent. In Italy, I have also a drummer and a bass player
Okay.
for the
It makes
gigs
sense.
there because in September, for instance, I have a couple of gigs in Italy in the middle of September. In fact, I was saying I'm practicing these days a lot because it's a long set and the pieces are not easy.
Is it hard to remember your stuff? I mean, you have a lot of notes. I mean, I can't even
Uh,
imagine learning anything at this point with you. I couldn't learn passwords. I would forget something because you have so many notes that you play.
yeah, I realized sometimes why did I put all that notes? There was really needs for all these notes. Uh, the answer is depends. Depends the type of gig because I like to improvise also a lot, but especially when playing the album, the song from Inkblot or from the first album, there are more written stuff.
Mhm.
Then I need to learn them, and there is an amount of also of improvisation a little bit, but it's more in the way I shape the notes The notes are given, but the way I play them are improvised.
Okay.
Every vibrato, for instance, every time I do a vibrato, it needs to be different.
Oh,
I cannot do the same vibrato every time because it won't be expressive. Needs always be
and you just want
changed.
to make it even harder on yourself, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. For instance, I know that I'm mostly known for my tapping technique and on playing fast shred stuff. But
Hmm.
the amount of work I did to play a vibrato and a band, it's huge. But that things often goes, they are overshadowed. How you can say? It's much more or less noticeable all that amount of work I did in that area, in that
Right.
department, because of course the eight finger tapping technique is much more noticeable. But I must say that my main focus is not playing the note, but is what happens in between to
Hmm.
the notes, because it's there that all the interesting things and the magic happens. You were saying earlier playing by the heart. I think the
Hmm.
heart is how you shape the note, how you give the expression, the meaning of a note, especially a long note. Of course, if it's short, it goes away very quickly. But anyway, I was saying for the pieces that are more compositional, I focus on the improvising, the way I play the notes that are given. And then I have the pieces that are completely improvised, that often are more like um, also jazz standard reinterpreted in a jazz rock way.
Hmm.
That is also the other side project that I do, that I have a lot of fun because it allows me to explore, to learn more about the guitar from another musical
Yeah, right.
perspective. Then the gig is a piece that are completely fixed in notes, and the piece after I need to improvise completely. This can be a little bit distracting
Sounds insane
as
to
a
me.
friend of mine, but I like to do that. Does it make sense a
Well, I
little bit?
mean, it does, but I mean, at least you have the improvisation. It's your music. So if you forget something, you can improvise. You kind of give yourself a little padding where you're not hitting the wrong notes because they're like, I'm improvising. There's no wrong notes. This is my music, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. There will be definitely a wrong note. If I hit the wrong one, is a wrong one. I believe
You know,
that I believe in wrong notes. You know the story. There is no wrong note in music. I
yep.
think there is wrong note.
Oh,
It's not
really?
that
So, I
easy.
mean,
It's not so simple.
well, two wrong notes is on purpose, right? So one wrong note is bad, and then you just do it again a second time, and then
Yes, yes. Of course, a lot of creativity can arise from this type of. Depends the music you play. Depends the
right,
music you
depends.
play. If you play a piece that is very tonal
Mhm.
and the harmony dictates for this amount the note choice, that is very easy to play wrong notes, and that notes will be wrong even if you try to correct it. I believe in the tonal system, that means that the note has a name because for a reason. A lot of guitar players, for instance, like to call, no, a lot of musicians, also composer, they say the C note is the same and B sharp are the same things.
Right.
Why you need to call B sharp that is C? No, they're not the same things.
No.
Otherwise, there was not two names. You know. Now we can have a long discussion about this stuff, but it's not. I don't think we is
Well,
needed.
that's actually interesting. I mean, I know, like, I'm not deep enough to know that, but I know obviously that's how it's broken down, and I hear that conversation a lot. You can play it here. Yeah, you can transpose things in a certain key, and of course, most ears aren't going to catch the difference. But there is a reason why there's a scale, not just for guitar, for every instrument, and
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
different things. You know, is there a similarity? Of course. You know, can you do a lot of different things on different parts of the guitar and sound similar? Yeah, I mean that's why you see it on YouTube. There's a million people playing the same song differently, and you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's wrong, and a lot of times it can be really wrong. But it's the same principle as like there are similar things, and I think that's where people just kind of push it together when there is a difference. But that is a
Let,
rabbit hole with some people.
let's say that this aspect, going back also to the topic of trying to developing a personal voice, on the guitar. that can be tone, can be choice of notes that informs the composition. Let's say that early on, when I was tracking myself for the first times in order to
Mhm.
understand how I was sounding, and of course, the first time we record ourselves, we think, "Oh my God, I sound terrible." The aspect of the notes to me was very important because why I remember recording myself and why it is not I don't like that. And then I started to get more into music theory, but not for the sake of music theory, for the sake of figuring out my favorite notes to use and
Mhm.
knowing why these notes are my favorite. Ah, there is a reason, you know.
Yep.
And then, of course, I developed more sensitivity about notes that can clash, you know.
Yep.
And
And
then I
that's a
try
really
to
advanced one. Not
avoid
a lot of
that.
people can do that though, you know. That's a little different level of guitarists. Not a lot of guitarists, their ears are at that point, you know. That's
It's a joy. It's like a workout, you know, like it's little by little. But a lot of great composer. Also, one of my favorite composer, Arnold Schoenberg, that was famous for being an incredible intellectual composer, but he wrote the most important things for a musician is the ear.
Mhm.
Because in the end of the day, it's always the ear that guides you. You can know all the music theory, but the purpose is to make your ear, your musical ear, better, more solid. Then in the end of the day, we are always playing by ear. Doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying.
You're saying that you can write it down. It doesn't matter how great you are, if it doesn't sound good. It can be technically perfect, but if it doesn't feel appeasing to the human ear, which may be a little bit different than what's technically right, it's
Mm,
not going to matter in the end
yeah,
to
yeah,
whoever
yeah, yeah,
listening.
yeah.
On some level, I think that's what you're trying to say. And that's what I heard. And I think that's why some people can play a lot of the wrong things, and they go, "Oh, this guitarist played this whatever," and then I went and looked at how he's playing it, and it doesn't make sense because it's breaking a lot of rules.
Mm.
But it sounds great, and it works in a certain way that it wouldn't have made sense. It you would have that was something that was found on the neck of the guitar in exploration, not in a composition on paper. You know,
But I still believe that if in the end of the day sound very good, there is a reason also because of that. That
that's
can be
music theory,
that can be explained.
right?
Probably. Often, at least I found myself when I found some new music that, oh my God, I really like the sound very strange,
Mhm.
maybe wrong, wherever. I try to figure out from a theoretical point of view why I like it in order to reproduce a similar sonority. Not the same because I prefer not to copy, right? To
Right.
understand why these notes works well together and how I can do something in a similar way without copying, you
Mhm.
know. And then, yeah, I like to proceed in this way. Let's say that music theory helped me in this way. A lot of
Yep.
guitar players doesn't like music theory because it can be
Yeah.
very boring and useless. The point is try to make it useful, otherwise it's useless for real, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. If you can't use it, it's not not going to help you. But I think there's a few things that don't make sense that sound good, but most things just don't sound good. Um, so we got that. The show is that so the show in Italy? Would you say September, October? I'm sorry,
Middle of September.
middle September coming up. Any releases or anything else that people can go to? I'm going to direct everybody to your website to follow you
Either
there.
recently or Spotify, where I do the
Yep.
musical release mainly there. Now in this digital era, of course, I'm focusing more on release digital releases,
Hmm.
singles. For instance, I released a piece. It was a couple of months ago. It was a reinterpretation of a classic of Charlie Parker. Now's the time. It's a
Yep.
blues, it's a jazz blues, but played with a lot of distortion. Not
It's
real
nice.
fusion, more jazz rock. But yes, I'm planning other releases, other singles in the fall and the
Hmm.
beginning of the next year, and hopefully an EP.
Okay.
That will be more. It will be more raw, guitar oriented. It will be all standard jazz, but reinterpreted.
Okay.
Reinterpreted with a much more aggressive approach on guitar, but still with a type of choice of notes that are more typical of early
Yes.
jazz or bebop and or fusion. I don't know. Anyway, beginning of yeah, in the beginning of the next year, I'm planning to release an EP.
Okay.
That
I'll
is
have it. I mean, that's the best place then to check you out, though. I mean, all your releases is all gonna be on your website.
my
Um,
website,
right?
Spotify,
Yeah, and Spotify, iTunes. I listen to you on
yeah,
iTunes.
iTunes, of course.
Yep, you're up there. Yep.
So who likes?
Um, that's excellent. What's the joke? How do you make $1 million in jazz or something? You start with $2 million or something.
Ah, yeah, and then you lost one.
Yeah, I lost a million. Yeah.
Yes,
So my
exactly.
the last question I have for you, what is your fun your go-to warm-up, like do you have a riff when you start, like a fun riff? Do you have something you start up you like to play?
When I warm up,
Yeah, is there a certain riff from a song, a rock song, a jazz song, just something you like? Just it's something you just do out of habit. You don't have a particular thing you do?
no, I go with things I'm more working.
Okay.
I usually warm up with something that I been working recently. For
Okay.
instance, it can be often, in my case, it's often a standard jazz where I'm trying to building ideas. Sometimes I take one backing track. If I play with backing
Yeah.
track one piece, I play the same piece for months. But
Okay, so it's
every
just
but
drilling it in.
I'm but I don't I play every time I play different things. I try to make it very comfortable and I
Hmm.
explore ideas. And often I warm up by start improvising.
Okay. That's a good. I ask that because every guitarist has a different way. Some people they do it like that. Some people have like a fun riff from a rock band they'll do a few times, just because it just feels right. You know, like when you play a
It makes
song and
sense.
like when you hear a song, and I may have actually said this to your wife, like you hear it and you're like, oh, I don't really care if I hear the song again. Then you play it and you're like, the chording is just beautiful. You're like, oh, this is so much fun to play. Don't want to hear
Yes.
it. Don't want to
Yes,
play it.
totally.
And I find myself playing those riffs more often. I'm like, I don't want to hear it anymore, but I'm enjoying the riffs. Now I find myself doing a couple of those when I start playing every time when I pick up a guitar, just because there's something about that satisfying. So it's different for everybody. That's why I like to ask to see where your
No,
mind goes.
interesting. No, I understand the feeling. Maybe I had, but no, I don't experience this feeling that much
Well,
often.
you're also more of a, but you have a goal in mind. So when you get, I mean, when I
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
work, I'm not, when I do computers, I'm not going to be exploring different things I don't do every day. I'm usually going to go right to where I'm going
exactly.
and sharpen my axe on what I'm doing. I'm not going to. Whereas me, I'm just meandering. You know?
Okay.
So for me, my journey on the instrument is different.
Ah,
So
it's cool also like that, for
that probably
sure.
why it's easier for me, obviously, and I'm not as complex. I mean, if I could play like you, I probably wouldn't play those riffs either. I'd be I'd be all up and down the neck, you know. But
Yeah.
I want to thank you. This has been fun,
Yeah,
Thank you for your
absolutely.
time.
It was a lot of fun to talk about this music exploration. I hope we
It's
didn't
I know we did.
digress
This
too
is
much,
how
but it's fun also to
that's what we do.
digress.
That's what we do. That's why back
Definitely.
again when your album's ready or you got other stuff coming out,
It'll be
come back.
fantastic. It'll
We'll
be
promote it.
fantastic. Fantastic.
Yep,
But thank you so
definitely
much
promote it.
for having me again.
Yeah,
And I will follow
thank you.
your next your
Thank you.
podcast also, of course,
Yep,
because you have a lot of cool stuff in your channel.
thank you. I appreciate it.